Hi, my name is Jennifer Stovall. I'm the Director of International Admissions with the American University of the Caribbean School of Medicine.
Thank you, Jennifer, for taking the time out and being part of the MedEd Explorer podcast. We're really excited to have you. And just to give you a little bit of background why we wanted to set this up was to give more information to students who are exploring a career in life sciences and kind of give them the extra tools they need to prepare for their journey. And we're really glad that you could be part of this. And, we hope our students can learn from you and get some support from you.
Thank you.
Welcome again, Jennifer. I'm Megha, and yes, the idea of this podcast is to really help medical aspiring students to get more information and very good knowledge about how to go ahead with their applications. So the topic for today's episode is really about the documents required and the application process that a student needs to go through when applying for a medical school. So could you share some information on that?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me as well. So we start with our online application. That's the first piece. So once students are about 3/4 of the way through their bachelor's degree, so once they have completed part of their junior year, going into their final year, we want to be able to see some of their transcripts. We want to make sure they're a little bit through their program. They can fill out our application and start with some their unofficial transcripts. And then some of the other documents we're looking for once they fill out the application is their personal statement, CV, MCAT score. If they happen to be an American or a U.S. citizen, we'll need an MCAT score, and then letters of recommendation. So it's pretty much the basic application packet for medical school.
Jennifer, so UAE, or generally if you talk about the Middle Eastern region, most of this market is very undergrad market. So, students are not as qualified to go straight into an MD program. So do you have a partnership through which, students can access if they don't have a bachelor's degree, or do they have to get a bachelor's degree before they come to AUC?
So there's a couple options. So AUC's main program is graduate entry, which is after a university level bachelor degree. But we do have a partner, the University of Central Lancashire in Preston, England, where we offer a 6-year pathway. And that starts actually with UCLAN's 2-year accelerated bachelor program. So students can go through that process by filling out either the UCLAN application or the UCAS application, and submitting their transcripts, letter of recommendation, and personal statement, CV as well.
When you meet thousands of students every year through your student recruitment events and, doing webinars and things like that, when you're counseling the students, what are the kind of basic questions or the first question you ask them to kind of gauge where they are in terms of their application journey or their mindset, or to guide them in the right direction?
Sure. One of the key components is always their education, and if they have the compulsory science courses. So we're all looking for just a foundation in the basic sciences, things like biology, chemistry, organic chemistry, and then some level of math, physics, statistics, or calculus. So we want to see that the students have experience with sciences, that they're good at them, that they like the sciences, so that they can actually progress into a career that is filled with those sciences as well.
Okay. For me, I help students a lot to get into medical schools and everything. So for me, a lot of students are not aware of the whole differentiation between the US MD program and the MBBS program, which is more popular in this region, especially when you go to the Southeast Asian market, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Nepal. Most of those countries follow the British curriculum of the MBBS. So it is a bit difficult for them to understand. So if you can help our audience, understand what is the main kind of why students should choose MD over MBBS or that path over the other. Sure. So just to give them a little bit of...
Sure. Yeah, and you were absolutely right. So North America follows the Doctor of Medicine MD program, which is a lot different than most of the world.
I think that's more of like a graduate level program.
It is.
If you think, yeah.
It is. So it's graduate entry medicine, which means after university degree. So in North America, the standard pathway would be for students to do high school, then go directly to a university for a 3 or 4 year pre-med degree, which is typically a science-based bachelor's degree, and then they apply to medicine.
So when you say a science-based, it doesn't have to be a pre-med, it could be a biology, chemistry, or a health science or life science.
Exactly.
And the components you were mentioning before, that they should have some chemistry, some biology in it.
That's right.
Okay. So,
right. And different regions have different medical laboratory sciences, biochemistry degrees, kinesiology, health sciences. It varies by region. But as long as there's a foundation with those science courses, we will look at those.
So the student is interested, sets up their application. What are the kind of next steps in the application process? What kind of the time duration does it take? I would like to know both internal and external as well. For example, internally, how does the mechanism of a medical school application works? Is there a admissions committee which looks at it? What are the components they look at it, and how do they shortlist between a direct acceptance or an interview offer or somebody who would be rejected?
Sure. So there's a few minimum requirements that we need to have. So once the application is filled out and we have a copy of those unofficial transcripts, and as long as we have one letter of recommendation, personal statement, and CV, we start processing on our end. Okay. And our process is very quick. Mm-hmm. So we have a whole team in our main office who will go through the transcripts, make sure we have those compulsory courses, look briefly over the CV to see if there's any gaps in time that we need accounted for, make sure there's a personal statement. And then our process is to move it out to interview very quickly. Okay. And one of the big differences with our interview process is that we do one-on-one interviews. So no MMIs, which the students love. Yeah. Right? A lot of them fear and spend a lot of time preparing for the MMIs. So you don't have to do that with American University of the Caribbean. So we'll go to interview. We try and get those done within 2 or 3 business days. Okay. And then we're fortunate our admissions committee meets weekly. Oh, okay. Of course, there's breaks around holidays, of course. Yeah. But every week. So as soon as we have the documents, we're able to get the interview done. Our process is very quick. The students will actually have a response from us within a few weeks.
Awesome. One of the biggest challenge which I see with my students who I advise on medical is the fear of interview. Like, I don't know, what are they going to ask me? Are they going to ask me questions which are like going to be science-based questions? Do I have to prep for it? So, can you give some tips on, because you do some of the students' interviews as well. So I just would like to know, what are the things you're looking for in a student?
In fact, that's exactly what I was wondering as well, because students would like to know how to prepare for this interview. Yeah. Do they need to know like a lot of technical information, or is it to gauge their personality or their plans? So if you could share more, that'd be great.
Sure. It's easier than students think, but it has a lot of common sense to it. So basic things. Showing up on time for your interview, being professionally dressed, understanding your full application, being able to express why you chose this particular medical school to apply to, why your passion for going into medicine, be able to articulate why you want to go, and this is a lifelong career and journey for them. And be able to just, account for any gaps in their application, be able to speak about their different experiences on their CV. We're not going to drill them on any science or math problems.
That's what their fear is.
They do fear. But it's going to be a very open conversation. We're looking for people who can communicate and express themselves.
Yeah, that was my thing as well. I thought that, the comprehension of could they have a conversation? Would they be able to understand English as a medium of delivery of instruction, something like that?
Exactly. So it's a lot of the basic things that they've been learning their whole lives. So a lot of times I think they just overthink it and think it's going to be more complicated than it is. Okay. But the one-on-one interview makes it easier.
I also wanted to understand a little bit more. Again, this is a very common question that students know. How early on they should start with their applications while they are in their final year of school? Do they need to start preparing in 1 year in advance, or what are the deadlines like usually for medical?
Sure. When they're in their final year, just before that, because we want to be able to see the lion's share of their academic coursework. So we actually accept applications up to 1 year in advance. But as soon as you start an application, we're going to be following up every 2 weeks. Oh, okay. So I would wait. The students should wait until they're almost done. So we can have a copy of the transcripts. We can look at grade trends. We can, start preparing for interview. They'll have enough information on their CV. They've gone through their personal statement. So all of those pieces, and again, because our process is so quick, we want to be able to make sure that they're actually ready once they receive an offer, that they'd be ready to start within the next, 4 to 8 months.
One more thing which I see a lot, I get asked this question a lot, is the letter of recommendation. So, some schools, because they have thousands or hundreds of students there, they're making the same. Is there something specifically you're looking for in the letter of recommendation? Are there some qualities you want to, are you looking for extracurricular activities? What are the things which a good letter of recommendation should have?
Sure. Since this is medicine, we would expect that the academic letter comes from a science instructor. So someone who's taught the student in a lecture type
biology,
setting.
Chemistry, or physics. Yeah.
Exactly. And that it's a strong letter of recommendation, meaning that this person who taught them knows the student. The student showed up to class. The student went to office hours. The student paid attention. If you are taking a high volume of science courses, it would be expected that you would be able to secure a strong letter of recommendation from a science-based academic instructor. That's what we're looking for. And some universities will have a pre-med committee, which is a group at their university. So if that is an option, we would like to see those letters as well.
One more thing which is very critical in a medical school application is the personal statement, I think.
Yes.
So I know some schools have put like a word limit of 500 words, and some students are confused. I've seen some personal statement who get like over philosophical in their letter. Their openings are like openings to a monologue of a theater drama or something like that. So what are the key things which you are looking for in those kind of personal statements? Yeah.
So first, the personal statement is my favorite part of the application. This is where you really get to know the student.
Exactly.
And that's what we're looking for. So there's a couple tips I will give. When you are writing the personal statement, be sincere, be yourself. Tell us why you want to go into medicine. And please do not say because you want to help people, because there are a million ways we can help people. It doesn't have to be through a career in medicine.
Good point.
So be more specific. And then follow the rules. If the university says maximum 750 words, keep it to 750 words, because we're not only reading that personal statement, we're looking to see if you can follow basic directions.
I feel that sometimes, even though students are, they do their research, but not as deep as they should. I am now, quite experienced in looking for a medical school, and I would do a few researches on asking basic questions from the student. I wanted to understand, if you were to advise a student who has no idea where they should go, how would you guide them? What would you be saying to them, to find that perfect match? It could be financial, it could be demographic, it could be cultural, it could be a lot of other things as well. So how do you advise students on, when they're making that decision of, okay, I should apply to this medical school and I should not apply to this medical school? What are those kind of factors you recommend students?
Sure. There's a few things, and a lot of it starts with how the students have gotten to the point where they're at, what they feel comfortable with. So are they thriving in a smaller class setting, or do they like the larger classrooms where there's more activity and more people around? Do they like to sit in the back and be quiet? Are they going to sit up front and be the one who asks a lot of questions? Do they study by themselves, or do they study with their peers? Are they looking for a collaborative location, or are they, there are a lot of different options out there. So it's starting with some of the basics that they often have answers to. They just don't know which questions to ask themselves, right? What is the best way for you to learn? What is the environment that is best for you? How far are you willing to go away from your family and friends and your support system? Or do you like to travel? Do you want to go see another experience? And what is the end goal? Where do you want to practice medicine? So you want to make sure you're not only lining up the institution that's going to help you be successful, but that institution is going to grant you all of the things that you want on the back end of it, right? Are you going to be able to practice in the UAE or in America or the UK? So looking at all those pieces, and then talking to family about the financial piece, because that's important too. This is an investment for everyone. And if you have siblings, so there's other people that are going into education as well. So it's a lot of different pieces. So open communication, being honest with yourself, figuring out where you're going to be successful and what that looks like.
I have one more question with regards to a little bit different from the application process itself, but a lot of students that I interacted with really want to know how important the learning environment is, or the location is, and how does this contribute to their overall studies while they're in medical education.
Right. It is a big component of it, because we're asking students to leave their support system, right, and everything that they know, to pack up their bags and to leave. And if a student has never done that before, it could be quite traumatic for not only for the student but for the family. So sometimes we'll see students do a different pre-med program, a shorter program or an online program, to see, one, if they can handle the volume of coursework that comes with medical school. Or they will go away just for a couple years and see how they do. Maybe it's a maturity issue. Maybe it's helping the family get used to the student being gone. We see this quite a bit, which is why we do the one-on-one interviews. We use those as a way to gauge their adaptability, their willingness, the support that they'll have. And if the student is able to, find friends in new environments and find ways for them to be successful on their own. It is a very big piece of it, because it could be the smartest student, but if they've never walked out of their home before,
that could be a big
or traveled, it could be very difficult for them.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a lot of looking for adaptability in them. A lot.
No, I remember going as a 19-year-old. It was a big cultural shock for me as well. Going to London from Pakistan, from like the northern part of Pakistan, which is a very conservative place, and suddenly with no parents or nothing. So it was just challenging to, suddenly see that, okay, mom's not going to make my bed today. I have to do it myself. I have to clean my own room. So all of that was a bit of a shock. And then you're thousands of miles away from your family. So it is quite tough. I want to just, very specific to American University of Caribbean, I wanted to understand that there are, for students, there are two options. They can do the entire program in the UK, or they can go to the St. Martin campus as well, right?
So the structure is, the 4-year graduate entry, the first 2 years are the medical sciences. So that's when they're in the lectures and labs. So there are flagship campuses in St. Martin, in the Caribbean. Or our partner, we offer that program site at the University of Central Lancashire in England. Anybody who is American will actually go to our St. Martin campus. Non-Americans have the option between St. Martin or the UCLan campus. Then the second 2 years of our program are the clinical sciences. So that's when they're in the hospitals applying.
The rotations.
Exactly. And those, we have hospitals across America, across England, and global health electives.
Oh, nice.
And their students can actually choose where they want to go. So at AUC, it's about the journey. Students can actually go to different countries, experience different ways of healthcare, and help them decide throughout medical school where they might want to practice afterwards.
So just picking on continuing on what you've just said, a lot of students ask, and a lot of universities also advertise their residency match rate, and they talk about their USMLE pass rate.
Sure,
everyone is competing on that. So if you can tell us a little bit more about that, so does AUC prepare the student for USMLE, and how does the residency match work as well?
Yes, of course. So AUC, our curriculum is designed for students to go into the U.S. National Residency Matching Program, US NRMP. Because we have that program site in the UK, we're also recognized by the General Medical Council. Okay. So if students prefer, they can actually take the GMC pathway into foundation years 1 and 2. Okay. The big difference between those two for students trying to figure out where to go is in North America and through the US National Residency Matching Program, students actually go into their specialty immediately. So they'll start training in the US. If you take the UK pathway through the GMC, you're actually doing foundation years 1 and 2, which are still general training. So most of our students are going to take the US path, and we boast a 97% first-time residency attainment rate. So that was for 2023. We matched across 24 different specialties, including orthopedic surgery, which is almost unheard of.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
But I do like to point out to students that because of our strong network of hospitals for our students doing their clinical training, the student who matched into orthopedic surgery had actually done clerkship in surgery at the same hospital he matched in.
Okay.
And that was no coincidence. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that AUC has been able to do over our 40-year history to actually prepare students for residency, to get them in. So not only are they just earning the MD degree, but they're actually going into residency, become practicing physicians.
And they, throughout their academic program as well, they are prepared for USMLE level 1.
From day 1.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's nice. And just to understand the National Residency Program, it is run by the US government, and the student match into it. And do they put their preferences that, for example, I have family in Chicago, Illinois, I want to go there, or Michigan, where you're from, or if I want to go to Texas or New York, do they make those choices themselves, or how does that work?
That is a very important question. So it is ultimately up to the student to decide on the volume of programs that they're going to apply to and where they want to go. At AUC, we have an Office of Career Advisement. We'll help guide the students. They will help guide with everything from interview skills, updating your resume, telling you your class rank, how strong your letters of recommendation are, connect you with a graduate who's been through the same process. A lot of matching into residency is your network, and it's about applying to programs, the volume and caliber of programs that you are competitive for. So when we looked at that 3% of students who didn't match, there's always two reasons. One, people applying outside the competitiveness of maybe their application, and students who want to go to certain geographical locations. Geographical locations. Yeah. So that is a big piece. So being open to the areas where you're going to go for your residency and taking the advice, the sound advice from the experts who have been doing this, and letting you know how competitive you are and where you should be applying.
And now recently, I think they've changed the USMLE scoring as a mechanism as well. It's no longer a percentage of how percentile on what level you are, is pass and fail. So how does student A versus student B get into a residency program of their choice? What should they do while they're at university?
So United States Medical Licensing Exam Step 1 tests you on knowledge of medical sciences. And that changed from a 3-digit numeric number to a pass or fail. Yeah. AUC believes that is a very good thing. So what that does is it opens up the doors for a lot more of the highly competitive specialties where before some of the residency training programs would rank. You had to have a certain score on USMLE to even be considered to apply for vascular surgery or orthopedic surgery. But now everyone, is a pass or fail. So it sort of takes away that crutch that residency programs had. But what that means is they have to look at other things now, right? They're going to look at your letters of recommendation. They're going to look at your network. They're going to look at how well you did during your clerkships. So if you are trying to match into a certain region, doing some of the key clerkships in that region so you can meet these program directors, get strong letters of recommendation, show them how great of a medical student you are so that they can request that you interview with them. There's a lot more pieces available. It's very strategic. There's a lot of different pieces of it to look into, especially with only the pass-fail score now.
And once the residency is complete, I think it's a 4-year residency, depending on what
3 to 7, depending on specialty.
The highest is for surgery, I think, for 7 years.
Surgery, but then you can subspecialize.
Like orthopedic surgery,
orthopedic or vascular, you could do residency for a very long time.
Yeah.
But students in the U.S. start out making around $60,000 US dollars a year as a resident. And that will go
up. Which is higher than what they would make if they go into the UK medical program. So if they would do a MBBS, they would start at maybe about £24,000 per year. I think that's where their starting salaries. So US MD program would get them started out at a higher level. So thank you, Jennifer. I don't have any further questions. I think I've asked a lot of questions, and we are going to open, this podcast to other students as well. They can send us questions, and hopefully the next time you're passing through Dubai, you will stop by and we'll throw in some more questions for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would love to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so
for
much
having me.
Thank you for such an insightful session. I learned so much as well in this conversation. So thank you for being here, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you.